So for my brand competitor analysis, I chose to focus on Samsung and Apple. So both of these companies are global leaders in designing, manufacturing, and supplying parts for consumer devices. Apple and Samsung both compete in this market with phones. So I'm specifically focusing on the iPhone and the Galaxy, although Samsung does produce other items like TVs, they do washer dryers, refrigerators, and things like that. Most consumers either have Apple products or they have Samsung products because their devices work best when they're used together. So they call this an ecosystem. So you have your Apple ecosystem, which is your iPhone, your Apple Watch, AirPods, a MacBook. And if you have all or some of these products from Apple, they tend to work best together. Samsung also does have their own device line. They have their own wireless headphones specific for Samsung devices. Same thing with their watches as well. So they are all very similar to each other. They just really only work with each other. You can, however, have an Apple iPhone and a Samsung computer. That does work, but it doesn't work as well if you have both products from the same company. So, some general information about Apple, which is the brand that I am representing. So, Apple is an American computer and consumer company, and they are most famous for creating the iPhone, the iPad, and the Macintosh or Mac computers. Um, they are one of the largest global companies with a market cap of $3 trillion. They are known for their design aesthetic and attention to detail when making their products. And they produced some of the first versions of the computer and the iPhone that are refined and easy to use and well-designed products that we see today. Their major product line really consists of the Mac computer, your iPhone, the iPad, and Apple Watch. They do AirPods. You have an Apple TV, and you have AirTags. So the Apple analysis. So some of the current trends we see with Apple is they're increasing in business due to employee preference regarding reliability and security with their devices. They are also doing Apple Intelligence featured in new model iPhones like the iPhone 16, which just came out, with a collection of AI powered features optimizing performance. 72% of IT professionals in the field believe that Apple products are more secure than other devices, and this also contributes to the growth in their enterprise. Some key challenges or issues that Apple can see. They face intense competition from other companies. It's not just Apple out there. They're dealing with Samsung, which we're primarily looking at. Also, Android is another one. And they also have very high prices of their products, which can limit a customer base. A lot of times when you're looking to buy an iPhone, people finance it over the course of 2 years, because they are very expensive. You're looking at a $1,000 phone, $1,200 computers. AirPods can range anywhere from $100 to $300. The same goes for an Apple Watch. It is all very expensive. Um, and they also have supply chain disruptions. This is caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. They operate strictly out of China when it comes to making their products. So deliveries were delayed and production was hurt because of this, much like all of the other companies that we've seen that operate not out of America, or not operate is not the right word, that are producing their products outside of America. So, where does Apple stand in this industry? They have a very credible reputation based on their products being sold, their customer service, and their commitment to innovation with their products. Their organizational image primarily focuses on creativity, innovation, and collaboration. And they have a very high Net Promoter Score, NPS. for their consumer ranking, and they're most known for their customer loyalty. So as of 2022, Apple's NPS score was 72. So this is almost 20 points higher than the industry average. So basically, your NPS is your customer loyalty. It's how often customers who are buying a product are coming back and buying more products. So if you're buying an iPhone and you like Apple, you like how it works, then you go and you buy a MacBook, or you go and you get the AirPods to go with it. So it's continuously customers coming in and continuing to buy Apple products. So Apple analysis continued. So some general attitudes and behaviors towards Apple. Customers generally have a positive attitude with Apple products, associating it with luxury and innovation. Most consumers who have one Apple product are likely to buy another Apple product, as I was saying before. So a negative attitude that we could see is that customers associate Apple products with being very expensive, as I've touched on earlier. So Apple's relationship with stakeholders, Apple tries to prioritize a strong relationship with its stakeholders. They expect the company's products to benefit society, and one of their main focuses on is minimal negative net impact on environment as well as on our communities. So Apple stakeholders consist of customers, employees, their investors, certain governments, their suppliers, and our communities as well. So now we're going to move into Samsung, which is Apple's competitor and the one of Apple's competitors, but we're focusing primarily on Samsung in this presentation. So Samsung was created, it was founded in South Korea. South Korea, it's a multinational company that manufactures and sells a wide range of consumer and industrial electronics. Their market cap is about 275 billion, which is substantially less than Apple. They do have the world's fifth highest brand value, and this information is not just including their cell phones, it's all of the other electronics and appliances that they also sell. So, major product lines that they have are their mobile devices, like our Samsung Galaxies. They also sell computers, just like Apple, cameras, they have appliances, and they have become one of the most recognized names in technology. And Samsung, the Samsung brand itself, produces about a fifth of South Korea's total exports. So, a Samsung analysis, the current trends we see with them is they are primarily focusing on AI, sustainability, and connectivity to drive innovation across their products and their services. And one of their main focuses is using recycled materials on many of their products and working to reduce carbon emissions associated with their products. Some of the issues that they face is intense competition from other companies like Apple. Samsung smartphone sales have declined, especially in the US. This is due to Apple being a US made company, even though their products aren't made in the US, they are a US brand. And they also have had some cases of product failures, releasing faulty products. One of their Galaxy phones, an A20e, had a lot of issues. It was exploding, malfunctioning, and also their foldable phones, which are one of their main selling points, have also been known to cause some issues. So, where does this organization stand in the industry? So, it's their reputation. They are global top five for the fourth year in a row. Their brand value has reached about 91.4 billion in total. Their organizational image is characterized by cultural excellence, innovation, and their ethical management. And their consumer ranking, Samsung was ranked as the top TV brand for consumer satisfaction in 2024, and they earned about 84 out of 100 points in the TV category. So not including their smartphones. So some of their general attitudes and behaviors that we look at is easy access to customer service and relatively quick solutions for issues that might come up. And that influences customer decisions to buy new products from Samsung. And users also value the ease and the ability to work across multiple apps on the devices. So, Samsung's relationship with its stakeholders. Samsung works to engage with stakeholders to build relationships and connections, very similar to Apple. They also make sure that they have shared values regarding economics, environmental, and social values and open communication channels like surveys or blogs to engage with stakeholders. Samsung is always looking for feedback on how they can improve their products, what issues are occurring, and the best way that they can do to help their consumers or customers who are buying from them. So, with Brandwatch, when I was doing this research, it was very interesting to me to see the differences between the two companies. So we're going to start with Apple. So this, so I chose to do Instagram and X. I found that these had the most mentions and most information coming at me. Um, X I found for Apple as well as Samsung that we'll see later had the most feedback, the most opinions. Unlike Instagram, I think X is just a very easy way for users to kind of get their thoughts out without putting it under a post, a picture, or anything like that. So yeah, so this is Apple, 196,000 mentions in the past 30 days, and this is both on Instagram and on X. So looking at the sentiment over time, you can see with Apple and within the past 30 days, there's a lot more negative than positive aspects. And this is due, and as you can see in the tweets that have been mentioned on the side, it is because there is a Siri eavesdropping lawsuit that's been going on that Apple settled for claiming that, well, people were claiming that Siri was eavesdropping on them, and then Apple was then selling that information to third parties or whatever the case was. And the Democratic Republic of the Congo has also accused Apple of blood minerals. So basically, what this is that they are convicting Apple of illegally mining certain minerals. That they're using for their devices. So some main topics of conversation. So this top row is keywords on Twitter regarding Apple in the last, well, X, I'm sorry, regarding Apple in the last 30 days. So the most popular things, the biggest thing is worst thing Apple. And then we also have Mark Zuckerberg. We have Apple strategy. You also see chain. You see Trump, Steve Jobs, who's the creator, big tech companies. DR Congo sued Apple. Apple's never invented anything great. Supply chains. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Declared war is another one. They're also throwing Facebook in there. So there's a lot of controversy really happening right now, I think, in terms of Apple and the legal issues that they are facing. And then if we look down further over here, these are the emotions regarding Apple on Twitter in the last 30 days. So if you see the chart, a lot of people are very neutral on some of these topics. I'd say there was a spike in disgust. I'm assuming when the lawsuit occurred about Siri, eavesdropping, not as much fear as you would kind of think in this case with the eavesdropping scandal. So it's very neutral, I find, with the emotion category, but I think a lot of people are confused. They do have questions, and Apple is not really giving them a definite answer in regard to these issues that are surfacing about the company. So next we're moving on to Samsung and their brand watch. So I just searched up the term Samsung, and they knew the company, what I was talking about. So I did the same platforms, Instagram and X. And once again, more information and more feedback was presented on the X platform. And this is the volume of mentions within the past 30 days for Samsung. So this is the sentiment with Samsung over the past 30 days. And once again, there are slightly more negative. There was a spike in negative, but other than that, it's pretty positive. I did put more negative aspects than positive because we have this jump right here. And I think that that had to do with um, Samsung filing a lawsuit to an insurance company because of underpaid claims regarding damages to one of their plants in Texas from an insurance company. So So, moving on to this, so these are some of the more popular words in reference to Samsung. So, as you can see, there is not as much as there were for Apple, and I think there's a lot more positive. Obviously, the biggest one right here is Samsung Galaxy. So, people are interested in the phones that Samsung is producing. Hashtag I love Galaxy AI. We have Shop. Apple's also in here because they're one of their big competitors. We have Samsung TV, Thailand, Koreans because it is a South Korean company. So yeah. And then go down to emotion over time. And this one is a lot more neutral. And there's a lot less going on in this graph than we saw in Apple. So again, everybody is a lot more neutral to Samsung as well. We have a spike here. Um, we have surprise is very steady down here. A little bit of joy. We have not very minimal anger. We see a little bump in sadness here. So the emotions for Samsung that the viewers have had over time are substantially better than what we're seeing in Apple right now due to all of the controversy that was going on with the company. So to compare some results, the best way to compare these companies was analyzing gender and who participated the most in these platforms. So I chose to go this route because you can see the substantial difference between the two. So Apple had a more consistent activity within the last month, both male and female. And Samsung was very stagnant until it got to about the beginning of the year, between January 6th and January 13th. We see quite a spike in female and male gender. So, some positives that we look at is that Apple tends to have better software support and data security, and a very strong ecosystem of products with devices that are very compatible with each other. A positive about Samsung is that they're introducing new features like foldable phones and more advanced cameras. And their phones also have good battery life throughout the duration of the phones and can hold a lot of storage. Some negatives about Apple is that their devices are more on the pricey side. A lot of people have to participate in payment plans and pay monthly for their phones to pay it off, and their products are not very compatible with other software. It's strictly Apple. And Samsung is more susceptible to malware and viruses, and they also have quality issues with certain models. So, some insights that I took away from these companies is that both Apple and Samsung products can be beneficial to their users. Apple tends to be more reliable for consumers regarding privacy and security settings, And this can be worth considering the price to have your information protected. Samsung offers more universal devices and can often pair with different software, unlike Apple. And the most common conclusion I came to is that consumers prefer Apple products, and that is all they tend to have, or they prefer Samsung products and don't buy other products in terms of phones, computers, etc. So both companies' products are not compatible with each other, so it's easier for consumers to have one or the other. Although it might not be ideal in some cases, this is what works best for most people. So, and then these are my references.